This is the Unstarving Musician podcast. I'm your host, Robanzo. The podcast features conversations with me, indie music artists, and industry professionals, and it's all intended to help other indie music artists be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love. Make music. Well, hello, and thank you for joining me, indie music lovers, fans, creators. I am so appreciative of you being here to hear me talk again and to hear my guests, to be in your earbuds, on your speakers. Thank you. I am grateful. My guest for this episode is the bluesman, the one and only Reverend Raven. He and I are acquainted by way of mutual friend, the worldwide West Side guitar man, Johnny Bergen. He and Johnny have been pals since '99. That's a good run. The Reverend and I recorded this back on the 20th of November. I need to check in with him, which I'm going to do soon since this thing is about to drop, and see how he's doing. But you'll notice from our conversation that we recorded this a few months back, if you're listening on April 9 of 2021 or later. I recently asked several... I should say at the time this was recorded, I had recently asked several former guests for their thoughts on personal branding, Johnny Bergen being among those. His first sentence or two mentioned Reverend Raven in his written response to me. He suggested we talk, so we did. So look, if you love what I do here on the podcast, please visit unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn about the many ways that you can show your love and support for the Unstarving Musician. Again, just visit unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to be part of that. We had a great conversation, the Reverend and I, about his growing up on the south side of Chicago, which is relevant to the blues, as you may know. Also, his stint in the Navy and how that helped him form his successful band, Reverend Raven and the Chain-Smoking Altar Boys. We talk about live music since the pandemic at that time, his post-pandemic predictions, how he acquired so many amazing testimonials for his band. You'll want to hear this. And some of the questions I've been asking fellow musicians and friends of the Unstarving Musician as part of the research I'm doing for a forthcoming second edition of the Unstarving Musician's Guide to Getting Paid Gigs, which I really need to get back to working on. Lots of things going on. And yeah, we talk about a wee bit more. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. So here is me and Reverend Raven. Hey Rev, it's Robanzo here. How you doing?
Robanzo, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Are you in Chicago today?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. So how do you know Johnny Bergen?
Well, I first met Johnny at, he walked into Famous Dave's in Chicago in '99, I think. I was playing with Madison Slim, or '98. Might have been even before that, '97. And he and Slim had known each other. And we've been friends ever since. He just, he comes to Milwaukee. I come see him play. If he's in town, he'll come down and see me play and sit in. And, it's just, so it's been, almost 22 years, probably 23 years I've known him.
Where did the time go?
Yeah.
So
I take it all back in a heartbeat.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm with you. How have things been for you and the guys since the pandemic began? I'm assuming some things have changed. Can you tell me a little bit about what that's looking like for you guys?
We haven't played a gig since our last gig was March 15th at the Bonita Blues Festival down in Florida. We have not played a gig since. Most of us are in our late 60s, early 70s, except for our drummer. So we're pretty much quarantined, until there's a vaccine. So
Sure.
We're still a band. We talk on the phone. I call them every so often. If I get a grant or something for the band, I send them some dough. But we're all getting unemployment, thank God, finally. and we were able to get grants and some help. So, we're okay. We're woodshedding, putting together a new set list for the band, and as soon as vaccine happens, start making plans to get on the road again.
Cool. I'm sorry about the gigs, but I'm happy to hear that. Sounds like everyone's doing well, and you guys are still in touch, and looking forward to some normalcy. So that's the good part, I suppose.
Yes.
So I was reading that you were born and raised in the Englewood neighborhood of on the south side of Chicago. What was that like growing up there?
Well, back in the 50s and 60s, it was mainly Polish Croatian, just north of 67th Street, Marquette Boulevard, and then on the other side was the Italian neighborhood. I went to St. Mary Mount Carmel, Dominican nuns, Harper High School, and we left in 68 and moved to a suburb right over the city line. And as soon as I was 18, I moved right back to Chicago, and I lived on the near north side of Chicago. I lived up on Rush Street, and I lived there until I went in the Navy in 76. And I got stationed in Chicago from 83 to 88 in the Navy, so I lived right in the loop. And after that, I got transferred to Wisconsin, and I've pretty much been living here ever since, on and off since 1988 now, 93.
Were you like a chief or something in the Navy? What was the deal there?
Yes, yeah. I was when I got out, I was a chief, and I got out in 1993. So yeah, it was a great life. I loved it.
That's good.
I recommend it. I recommend it to any young person if they, if they're not going to go to college or apprentice school and they want some adventure. Navy's the place to go.
Yeah, cool.
I'm kind of biased because but if you're going to want to travel, you can actually the best place to go is the Navy. So
that sounds like a good option. Well, thank you for your service, by the way. And hopefully the travel was good.
I'm still recruiting. I'm still recruiting, Reverend.
Yep. Well, I'd consider it if I wasn't way past the age myself. So Johnny put me in touch with you because I was sending out. I sent out a question to some former guests. So I wrote a book a few years ago. It was my perspective on getting paid gigs, and it was intended to help musicians that I know not everyone kind of gets that part figured out, even though they're good players. And so I've learned so much from doing over 150 episodes for the podcast, and just from all the musicians that I've known over my life as well. But the podcast has really sort of opened it up because I got exposed to new worlds, in music and a lot of original artists. But the question that I sent to him, and he thought of you, almost the first, words that he typed were your name in his response. But the question was, can I get your thoughts on personal branding? So may I pose the question?
Oh, sure.
May I pose the question to you?
Sure. Well, I think it's real important. It's a double-edged sword. Once you tagged on to something and you use it on your merchandise and you get well known for something, you can never take it back. I got the Reverend nickname in the Navy, and it was always kind of just, in the office or in our squad kind of joke. And when I got out and I started playing with a bunch of hippies in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, mm-hmm. A lot of the sailors would come see me and they'd call me either Chief or Reverend. So the guys in the band thought that was great. So they just called me Reverend Raven. So that kind of stuck. And then we came up with the name Altar Boys, and then chain smoking Altar Boys one night. I think it was Monday night blues night at Harvey's Bar in Oshkosh, which was the blues bar in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And I'll get to that later on about there used to be a bar in every town, that had blues. And that became the name of the band. And I found out years later from reading James Burton had a side band in Nashville called the Chain Smoking Altar Boys. But I never got sued for it, so I figured I'd keep it. And
that's good.
It's it's sold a lot of T-shirts. It's gotten me a lot of gigs just from interest, and but it's also gotten a lot of well, that's ridiculous. Bruce Iglauer hates it. He's like, what the hell did you call yourself that for? I'm like, well, it's too late now, Bruce. So it's real important, and it's you get a brand, and then you've got to make sure that you keep the quality up. I think that's real important, and then you've got some longevity. So, but it sells merchandise, and that's a big part of my income and the band's income, and it pays for so much of what we do on the road. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
And what inspired you, or can you sort of pinpoint any inspiration for wanting to put as much focus as you have on your brand that, Johnny Bergen, he criticizes himself for his own brand, but I think he's no schlep, but in that department. But what inspired you to focus on that as you have?
Well, to make a good living, doing what I love to do. When I got out of the Navy, I took an early out, so I did about 18 years total active duty, and a little bit over 17 years. And I tried a couple jobs, but I was working with the band just to make ends meet. We were a tavern band, and I figured out, well, how can I apply what I've learned in the Navy to what I'm doing and try and make a living out of this. So I just did a lot of research and watching other bands and what worked and what didn't, and reading a lot, and decided, well, okay, this is what I've got to do. I've got to first of all build a following locally, and then branch out and back that up with the name and a CD and flyers. Back before everybody had a computer and a printer and everything else. It was going to FedEx or Kinko's. Kinko's was my favorite place at 2:00 in the morning. Like cutting flyers, and then my kids would help me mail. Them. We'd sit and watch TV and put labels on stuff, and so because you have to let people know where you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I used to do that. I forgot.
I wanted to make a living doing it. So
I assume you mentioned that you were thinking of skills that you could bring from the Navy, and I'm sure that organization, was part of that. But were there other things about what you learned in the Navy that helped you along?
Oh, sure. Number one is planning. You got to have a plan. Training. And it sounds real clinical, but there's ways you can apply that to a band. And I've always been most comfortable working with a band. I'm fascinated by how Johnny operates, and RJ Michaud, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
RJ, they can just call up the best guys in each city or each town and put them together, and he'll fly out or drive out and play. I prefer to have a band, and I feel more comfortable that way. So running a band is like running a department in the Navy, as far as I'm concerned. Everybody has different motivators, and so you learn what motivates people, and you try to apply yourself to meet those needs, and you have a cohesive band. And I think it works because I've had the same guys in my band for on and off for 20 some years, and they all seem happy. And and then as far as my business, you have to have a team. So you put together a team. Well, in a music world, what's a team? It's a band. It's the band's friends and fans, and then you've got to have an agent, and agents are very, very important. I know there's a lot of bands or musicians have adversarial relationships with their agents, but you get the right agents, and they make your life a lot easier. There's nothing worse than constantly trying to book yourself on the phone and booking tours by yourself. So that's pretty much, I try and keep it simple. And those are the simple things I brought over.
And are there
I did learn how to do like business contracts and all that stuff too, and advertising and writing up, dealing with people in the press and radio and things like that. So public speaking, I was an instructor in the Navy, so that helped too, being able to talk to people in front of people. So I don't know, that's probably what transferred over.
And are there tips that you can share for learning what motivates people? Because that seems like a super important part if you're running a fairly good sized band.
Number one, praise in public, criticize in private. Yeah. Never criticize a band member on stage. Never let them know you're upset on stage, because the audience is going to pick that up right away. And you don't do it in front of the other band members. You take them aside. You give your concerns, and you got to let them give you their concerns too. It's not an autocracy, I don't think, and it's got to be some kind of give and take. But I think that's the main thing right there. Some people want to make sure that their pay is good and the money's right, so you never get stupid about the money. Other people want recognition, so because that's what motivates them too, and that's understandable. We're musicians and entertainers, so some people enjoy that more than others, or need it more than others. So you make sure you give everybody in the band a chance to shine too. So that's about it, I think.
That's good. Good tips.
Protect them, keep them safe on the road. Make sure that they feel very, very comfortable and very secure when they're on the road. Like whatever happens, they're going to be taken care of and go home if they need to.
That's good. I like that. Sounds like a little bit of that came right out of the Navy. How do you? I imagine this is kind of big for you as part of the whole brand thing and touring, but it's another. There's a different set of questions I've sent out to former guests of the podcast and some friends, and here's a couple of them I wanted to ask you. But what do you do to make your live performances memorable for audiences?
Well, you give them a show. They've got to have a show. I mean, people come out and want to hear good music, so the music's got to be good. But I think people want to be entertained when they go see a band too, and I know I do. So I don't. I'm not gazing into my shoes. None of us are shoe gazers. You give each member of the band, their limelight, and they rise to the occasion. You have little things that you do. I mean, there's just a walk up from the 1 to the 4, in a swing tune. Something T-Bone did a lot, or Gatemouth Brown, or the big horn punches that you can do. You can do those, emulate those on guitar and harmonica. You just you give them a show. There's no dead time between songs. We're pretty much well rehearsed. We don't do the same show every night, but we've got about 6 sets of material, maybe more. So as soon as I start a riff or turn around, tell them what it is, and we count it off, we go right into it. So it's kind of effortless. It's gotten to the point like that, which is we're real comfortable on stage. So, and we love playing. So and the audience has got to be the right audience too. I mean, everybody's part of the whole picture, I think. So.
Yeah, I like that. And here's one more from that set of questions. What is the single most important thing that has helped you be a better vocalist?
Oh boy, practice. Lots and lots of practice. Keeping your voice healthy, and playing a lot, singing a lot, I think. But I actually try and work on it. I have a few people that is my vocal range that I go back to and I listen to a lot. And one of them is my real good friend Madison Slim. This one's got this great, cool vibrato. He's got this thing where he drops it instead of bringing it up. Freddie King used to do that too, and it's real effective. So, I pick up little things like that, and I'll send them home and I'll practice them, and I'll do scales on my guitar and sing along with them. But that's about it. I mean, I try and not abuse I don't smoke anymore, so that my voice really improved after that too. And
good.
Sing like yourself. Don't try and sing like somebody. I see that a lot.
Sure.
Somebody trying to emulate somebody, and it's just sing, be yourself.
And now a quick word from our affiliate partner, and then back to the interview. This episode is powered by Bandzoogle, the most effective platform for musicians and bands to build their website and manage direct-to-fan marketing and sales. Powering over 55,000 websites, Bandzoogle features powerful design options, a commission-free store to sell merch, music, and tickets, a built-in mailing list tool, detailed fan data, integrations with social networks, and more. Plans start at just $8.29 a month, which includes a free custom domain name. You, indie musician, can try it out for free at bandzoogle.com. And you can use the promo code ROBONZO, ROBONZO, to get 15% off your first year of any plan. Again, that's bandzoogle.com, promo code ROBONZO, ROBONZO. And you might be surprised, but I've asked that question to a number of singers and songwriters, and practice is one of the least. It's one of the fewest people use that one. It's kind of funny, and I expected.
They
I expected it.
They probably got a lot more talent than I have, so I have to work with what I have.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean,
and if you're a guitar player, a lot of guitar players ignore that. They think, well, I don't have to work on my singing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you do, because in blues, I believe the vocal's the most important part.
Sure.
So.
Well, and Johnny Bergen, he was one of the ones who said something similar to you, though. He said he might have mentioned two things, but one of them was voice lessons, and then doing warm-ups helped him immensely, he said, which is a form of practice, of course. But
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
I was always surprised, and in fact,
go
ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, I guess I used to be I wasn't embarrassed about it. When I was a kid, I grew up in the late 50s, early 60s, so I was a big Elvis fan. But I'll put on early Elvis stuff, but I can sing most of those songs, and that's in my vocal range. So I'll practice that. Like if I'm driving to the gig, I'll sub-vocalize it to get my throat thing. So yeah, I practice. I do warm-ups too. And Johnny's a great example. I think if you listen to Johnny when he first came out, and you listen to Johnny now, his voice has gotten so sweet and cool. And he worked at it. You can tell he did.
Yeah, I didn't listen to him a lot in his earlier days, but he admits that he just didn't take it seriously. And I think it was Kid Anderson who was, who asked him when they were recording, why it doesn't seem like you're treating your voice like an instrument. And of course, that his vocal instructor was Kid's wife, so that may be part of a sales pitch over at the studio. But I could tell it really resonated with Johnny, and I might be telling the story wrong, because I had conversations with Kid Anderson also, and it may have been not Johnny that I spoke to, but Kid, and asking him about vocals and singing, in the studio. Some singers, a lot of singers, or some anyway, not realizing or treating their voice like an instrument. But yeah, I was going to agree with you that Johnny, his voice is just, I don't know, it's really amazing. I got an opportunity to play with him not too long ago, and it made me really appreciate watching what he does live, and we had some video stuff, and listening to it on an album is one thing, but to go back or to play with him and hear him do it live and watch him on video is pretty impressive. So I agree with you.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's, in fact, I watched Yeah, there's a video of him playing with Cadillac Zach and the band RJ at Cadillac Zach's jam. He's playing with RJ. And he's singing "I'm Leaving You." Whoops, I'm leaving you. But he's doing it like I'm trying to think of a Chicago. But Johnny's got the vocal down. It just the phrasing, everything. His voice is real sweet. It's just like yeah, that sounds great.
It does. So one thing I noticed, I thought people listening to this conversation when it comes out is they would possibly enjoy is I'm going to mention something, then just sort of ask you, maybe I don't know how it came about, or I think I can guess some of it, but how it came about, or what advice you might offer to someone who thinks, man, that sure would be great if I had that. And that is, you have a boat ton of testimonials on your website about you and the band, and a lot of these are from some serious people. They all are, I mean, I imagine some of them are fans, but you have a lot of noteworthy names on there who offer nice testimonials about you. How did those all come about for you and the band, and what maybe advice would you offer to an artist who doesn't have that, who's like, man, that would be great?
Well, I would ask, when somebody say something like that, I would ask them nicely if, oh God, I said, would you mind if I quoted you, or like with Hugh Laurie, I asked Hugh Laurie after he said that, I said, I mind if I quote you? And he said, oh, absolutely not, I mean, absolutely, and I'm like, yes, I'm like, so, that's I pretty much ask, and people send me emails. They sent me emails and said, yes, I caught your show and it was really excellent. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, it really helped my career, help my bottom, my paycheck, put shoes on my wife's feet. If I could use that, and and they're like, yeah, sure. And I do the same thing for, I mean, if it's heartfelt and it's real, I don't care. I mean, somebody else says, well, Jesus, how could you say that about them? I didn't like them. Well, I did. I always have these conversations with Slim. I mean, all can't like the same kind of music or same kind of bands or styles, or some people like chocolate, some people like strawberry, so that's.
And blues people are kind of tough on each other, aren't they?
Oh, music people are awful. Don't play for other musicians.
And I mean blues in particular, right? They're kind of tough on each other.
Oh, sure. Well, there's so many little blues cliques. There's the super traditional guys. And I mean, I got one foot in that world, but there's they're gonna boogaloo it up a little bit like me, and then there's the rock guys, so it's a plethora of different kinds of attitudes, and a plethora of different kinds of attitudes and opinions.
Yep. I only kind of know of this from hanging out with Johnny a bit, and I've played very little blues, and in fact, I was really nervous to play with Johnny because I've seen good blues drummers. I grew up playing rock and pop and dance music, and I've seen really good blues drummers, and it took me a long time to realize, like, oh, there's a real art to that, and so I was pretty nervous about it. But anyway, he had kind of told me that in some respects it's like so competitive and this and that, and that just kind of made me think. I bet you guys are so hard on each other with all the different cliques, like you say. But well, there's a wonderful culture at the same time.
Oh yeah, there is.
Yeah, and there's like one of my favorite things about it is there's like a universal language among blues artists, right? Musically.
Yes, absolutely. Like with Johnny, any of us that do it, a lot. You can drop us anywhere in the world, I think, and we'll hook up with other blues players and be able to put on a decent show. And that's the cool thing about it. I travel a lot on vacation. Even I go to the Virgin Islands every year, and there's old retired hippies on each of those islands that know how to play a shuffle, or some guy knows how to play a couple good blues bass lines, and you can put a show together if you're down there, and and have some fun. And even at the blues jams, you go up to the jams sometimes, and you'll see somebody that's really, really talented, and you find out they're a stockbroker, and they're not even in a band.
I know, that
like,
kills
oh
me.
My God, this guy is killer. It's like, thank God he's not out there competing, for all these hard gigs.
That's funny and true. Too
funny.
Yeah. So, what do you think? What's your prediction for the return to some semblance of normalcy, where you and the band can get out and do your thing again? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be summer before we really start getting back to normal, if the vaccinations work, and especially if the antibody virals come out with it. And people see that, they're saying that these are 95% effective. So if that's true, I would probably planning on doing a Florida tour or Virgin Islands tour in April, and then my summer's booked already. Well, I mean, lots of it. All the gigs that I lost this year got moved to next year. The contracts got changed. So that was cool. I was like, okay. So, as long as we haven't forgotten how to play together as a band, which would probably be better to go to the Virgin Islands and work out the kinks first, and before we're going to Florida and playing all the big places we play, on the way. And not big places, but I mean, bigger than taverns, and work out the kinks. But probably summer, hopefully. I'm optimistic about it. I just have to stay safe until the end of next month. The VA already got a hold of me and said, you're right at the top of the list, you and all the other old farts, and you'll get the vaccine. So we'll see how it goes after. I think everybody still wear a mask for a long time. I know I will.
Well, that's nice that they're doing that. I didn't know. I wasn't aware. So this is a program for vets where they're going to do that?
Right. The VA is going to be one of the first, entities that get it. And they'll do all the doctors, of course, and frontline workers first. Mm-hmm. And then all the vets with comorbidities like myself, then we'll get inoculated right away. So
cool.
Or vaccinated.
Cool. Well, if it comes to fruition in the summer, looks like it's hopping again. I'm going to say, yep, Reverend Raven told me so.
Well, the eternal optimist. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Rev, thank you for coming on and spending some of your Friday afternoon with me. If people who listen to this want to find out more about you and where you are hopefully playing soon, they can go to your website at reverendraven.com and see what you guys are up to. And it's really a pleasure, and I will definitely be speaking with you again real soon.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Rapunzel. Have a good one.
You too. I have been asking you to check out my new single, On Top of the World, available wherever you get your music, including robonzo.com, my artist website. You can also find the new lyric video at robonzo.com. On Top of the World was released January 8th, 2021, and, well, I'm still excited about it. So I hope you'll check it out. But now I'm crazy excited to tell you that you can stream my forthcoming single, New Gods Part 2, on Tracked Music for iPhone. It is the exclusive streaming platform where you can check out New Gods Part 2. It's my personal homage to, yes, Zeppelin, Genesis, and prog rock, with a bit of commentary on the world we live in. I hope you like it. Again, you can hear it on Tracked Music, the app for iPhone, or on trackedmusic.com, and that's TRACKD, no E, trackedmusic.com. Link in the show notes. Thanks again for listening. If you loved this episode, please subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast/audio platform. It'll help you stay on top of the latest episodes and help other indie musicians and indie music fans find the podcast. And if you have feedback, please go to unstarvingmusician.com to get all my contact info. You can text me, call me, email me, leave a voice message right there on that page. Just go down to the bottom of the page and you'll find everything you need to know. I really would love to hear any of your comments, suggestions, questions, whatever you've got. And you can find links to just about everything talked about in this episode at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. All right, I'm peacing out. Thank you for listening and sharing with your musician friends and fellow indie music fans. Peace, gratitude, and a whole lot of love.